What is up, Buff Nation? Welcome into DNVR Buffs Primetime. We're presented by Illegal Pete's, everyone's go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beers. Jake Schwanitz here, and my guy, Henry Chisholm, back on the show, man. It has been quite a long time. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I must have been during basketball season, I think was the last time I came on.
It was literally 2 shows before Coach Prime came here. And back then we were doing shows weekly.
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, it has. A lot has happened.
What is it overall? What is your impression of what's gone on over the last 6 to 8 months or so?
It's been interesting. I mean, I'm excited. It's weird though because I stopped covering CU about a year ago, and basically everybody who I knew is gone.
Yeah.
And so that's where, because like last season I was like watching every game and I was cheering for the Buffs because I was like, oh look, there's my guys, like there's Jay Lee with the ball, and now all those guys are gone, and so it's like, well, I guess I'm just cheering for Colorado because it's Colorado now, not because I actually have like any real attachment to the things that are going on there.
Right.
So it's been weird. It's exciting for sure, but strange.
It's definitely different, man. And we're gonna kind of catch you up on everything that's been going on, and also get your reaction to some of the things that we've been working on here on the show. They've been asking for it there in the comments, and you're getting some welcome backs from guys there.
Oh wow,
they remember you, Hank.
Well, that's good. I mean, how long was I there? I guess that was three
there
years.
For a while, man.
So I started summer 2019. So I was there for the full Mel Tucker season. Then the first 2 seasons of Carl. Mm-hmm. And then I was gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, you had a winning season, actually.
I did get a winning season. Yeah, people forget that Alamo Bowl season they were legitimately good. Like, I remember because everybody was locked down and I wasn't traveling to games because of the lockdown.
Right.
But they started with that game against UCLA. And, you know, and now everybody talks about, oh, DTR, he's awesome. At that time, DTR was just a turnover-prone quarterback who like had some exciting traits, but hadn't really ever done anything. I guess that would have been the Zach Charbonnet's first season. No, he would have come the year after.
Yes, I think so. After the COVID season.
After the COVID season came. So yeah, so
I think he was still at Michigan then.
COVID year, but the Buffs go out there and they just keep scoring and scoring and scoring and wind up like scored 40 something points, just beat the hell out of them, and they were off and running. They were electric. Carl Durrell, Pac-12 Coach of the Year.
Back in the Jarek Broussard days.
Yeah, he was incredible. And he's another one where he wanted to transfer out. Congrats to him for transferring out. Turns out he had a pretty good thing going at Colorado. Yep. I think you can't really say that about Christian Gonzalez, who left.
Brendan Rice, though. He
probably wishes he would have stayed. Christian Gonzalez is top 10 pick. Mekhi Blackman is a 3rd or 4th round pick, something like that. Who he probably doesn't get drafted out of Colorado. Yeah. Just the way the program was seen at that point, like I don't think he would have gotten drafted, which is crazy because he didn't even get any better when he left.
Right. Nate Landman's now doing some stuff in the league for Sean's Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, yeah. He's around. Carson Wells. I talked to him a couple months ago. He just USFL, XFL?
Yeah, he just got an invite or something, didn't he?
I
think so.
He did. He definitely got a tryout like a month or two ago.
I think it was the Patriots.
Yes, it was. That's right. Yeah. And I guess nothing must have come from it, but he's around. Somebody gets hurt, he might get a chance.
All right. The chat's been asking for it for the last week or so. We've been doing these graphics, Hank, of just kind of breaking down what's been going on in terms of the transfer portal. Transfers out, transfers in. We did this one graphic of transfers out and where they've ended up. This one isn't completely updated. That uncommitted has gone down a bit. Okay. But this is where all the players that left Colorado have ended up. Not many Power 5 representation. No SEC, no ACC. The Big Ten is one. That's Jalen Sami, who went to Michigan State, again with Mel Tucker. You got 2 into the Big 12. I think one of those is Deion Smith, who went to BYU.
Where did Casey Roddick go?
He went to Florida State, but he transferred out before Coach Prime got here.
Oh, okay. Yes. So he doesn't count. Okay.
Yep. But only 12 players stuck in the Power 12. Does that kind of match up with what you saw on the field your last couple seasons?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. You didn't expect anybody to nobody maximized themselves the last couple of years, you know. So and when that's the case, you're just not moving up. Like that's just not what's going to happen,
right?
Especially because the numbers were down. There's so many things that were broken that it's tough to say like, oh look, left guard, you actually played great, but nobody could tell. Like it's just really tough to see any of that. And even when you do, it's still a gamble. So there's just no reason for the SEC to come in and gamble on those guys when the portal's packed with players who have numbers to back it up or have whatever to back themselves up.
Yeah, that 18 number for uncommitted, not completely updated. That's from when we last did the graphic. I believe that was early May. Eric's asking where RK is. There is a bug going around the office that somehow we have been spared by.
So far.
For now.
Yeah, so far. We're going to knock on wood for that one.
All right, second graphic, Alyssa. This is showing where the transfers in have come from. And quite different when you compare it to where the guys who have left the program have gone. SEC standing out there. But a lot of guys coming from the SEC who have not really played too much. They were recruited at the SEC level, maybe played a season there on the team, redshirted or something, didn't see the field, and now we're on Colorado. ACC was 7. Those 3 guys in the American Conference are Alton McCaskill, who's going to be your starting running back, Jimmy Horn, and Xavier Weaver from USF. Probably going to be 2 of your starting wide receivers. And then on the right side there, look at all the guys coming in from the Power 5. The FCS, there's 12 kids there. I believe 8 of them are Coach Prime's kids from Jackson State.
Makes sense.
Any impressions from this one?
Obviously, you're getting talent. Like the SEC stuff speaks for itself. Like you just need that. When I was at CU, there were a handful of SEC transfers. None of them really did anything.
Yeah.
They're all guys who you're like, well, of course things didn't work out. Of course you were looking for a new home. Again, nothing worked at CU at that time. So I don't think that really projects. I'm a little bit nervous when I see SEC transfer. You know, there were so many examples. Antonio Alfano is the big one.
Yeah.
Former #1 recruit. Transfers out of Bama after his freshman season, comes to CU, and then doesn't even ever see the field. That's just the Buffs' pessimism probably kicking in. And, you know, it's not like they're going to be a downgrade.
Right.
You know, you might wind up with a couple players who say, we maybe had this before. You know, Owen Carey I just saw left.
Yep.
It's like that was 2 years ago. If you said that happened or he dropped his commitment, I guess at that point you would have said, holy hell, that's a big loss. Now came in, didn't do much. On his way out, like you cycle through all of these guys, you're not going to win every change you make. The Owen Carey for the SEC linebacker, but in the grand scheme of things, yes, they've clearly got way more talented.
They have. Do you remember Dylan Dixon?
Oh yeah,
the top recruit in their 2022 class, playing at Missouri State now.
Yeah, I bet he's. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see with all those guys. I don't know. I'll be curious because those were like my guys who I spend every day with. So I'll be following along to see what they do. But I will be curious if it turns out, you know, like, oh, Christian Gonzalez left, first-round pick. Mekhi Blackman goes, draft pick, which is a big deal for Colorado at this point. Or how many of them go the other way? Because, again, it's not the team needed to be turned over.
For sure.
You know, you got better, but it is a lot of change, and I wonder how much better.
Well, let's break it down even further then. This is the first graphic in the series we did. This is the production that Colorado lost when all these players transferred out. I mean, 0 multi-touchdown games, 3 interceptions from 12 defensive backs, 11 touchdowns from 11 total skill players, only 1 sack from the front 7, 1 offensive line starter, 2 defensive backs who charted a pass breakup. I mean, it was that kind of puts it in perspective how bad it was the last few years.
Yep. At the same time, though, that looks like the majority of the production from last year. Yeah, it's not much production, really but there was no production on that team. Again, and a lot of young guys. Like it was just a really young team last year because all the veterans transferred out.
Yep,
and so everybody was kind of punching above their weight. A lot like another callback, Mark Perry.
Yeah.
Mark Perry, who had a role on the defense as a freshman back in 2019, was one of their kind of big recruits. made a couple mistakes again in 2020, but was a starter. 2021, he also starts. But the fans never really got over some of the mistakes he made when he was young. Transfers out, goes to TCU, and is a starter on like the college football playoff national title game defense.
Yep.
And again, like after year one, if he leaves, you say, it doesn't hurt that bad, but that's just what happens when young players play, So you lose all the young guys. You changed all your lottery tickets for other lottery tickets.
Basically.
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
And you probably got better ones. You definitely got better ones, but I don't know. I'm curious.
How much better? Let's find out. This is the latest graphic, final graphic in the series. I want to make some changes to this before we post on socials, but this is by the numbers, the amount of production coming into the program. You're getting 96 touchdowns from 3 running backs. I know there's at least 5 or 6 wide receivers. You count Shador's in there as well. 96 touchdowns, 11 interceptions from the defensive backs, 40.5 sacks, 74.5 tackles for a loss on the front 7 or defense. 4 offensive linemen who started every single game last year in their previous home. 27.5 pass breakups. From last year's receiving production, 2,771 yards. And then career rushing production from all these running backs coming in is 3,856. 12 players that have earned all conference honors at some point in their career are joining this team. Which one of these stands out to you?
Probably the touchdowns. That's a big number.
That is a pretty big number.
Also, I mean, the big 51 in the middle is also a massive number.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. How much of this is production from Jackson State?
So there is one offensive lineman who started every game. That'd be Tyler Brown. A lot of the touchdowns are going to be from Shador. Some will be from Travis. He didn't have too many last year. In terms of 12 players that have earned all conference honors, I know Shador has. I know Travis has. I know Tyler has. I think Syvion Wilkerson, the running back, has as well.
Yep.
He's actually a big chunk of that career rushing yards.
Okay.
Because Alton McCaskill only played as a freshman at Houston, didn't play last year with a torn ACL. And then Kavasier Smoke only had, I think, 1,500 total rushing yards, or all-purpose yards, actually, in his career at Kentucky. What else would be there? Like pass breakups, tackles for loss, and sacks, Cameron Silman Craig. Interceptions, Cameron Silman Craig and Shilo. So it's a lot.
It is. Then that's what scares me about it.
Why does it scare you?
Just a lower level of competition. Like in Montana, like I watch a lot of FCS football. And it's just, I mean, it's a very different world down there. Let's see. There haven't been a lot of transfers out from Montana. There have been a couple guys who've been productive. Well, one's a kicker. The other, Samori Toure, wound up in Nebraska and had he broke Jerry Rice's record for receiving yards in a playoff game when he was at Montana.
Oh, okay.
So he's like electric, incredible player. It was Nebraska, which killed me. And so was the kicker. But he goes to Nebraska, and I think he put up like 600, 700 yards and wound up being a training camp guy. So it is possible, but jumping up from that level to Power 5, you wonder what translates and what doesn't, because everybody's bigger, everybody's faster, and you look at it and there's probably a handful, 5, 6, 7 maybe FCS teams that would make a bowl game. Like throw them in a random conference, see if they make a bowl game. And then behind that, you have a couple teams who'd be close to 500. And if the bulk of your roster is coming from the 3-4 win type teams,
right,
it's scary. Now, what exactly was Jackson State? That's another tough one, because like last year they're undefeated until Independence Bowl. I think
Celebration Bowl.
Celebration Bowl. Yeah, they're definitely not a military school. But yeah, so I think that has them. I think they were 14th in the rankings.
Who?
In the FCS, Jackson State. Yeah,
they were up there. They were
right around
good.
there. Yeah. So I mean, it'll be interesting. It'll just be really interesting to see, because it's a big jump for those guys. They also were undefeated at that level.
That's true. A lot of JUCO kids in that as well. I don't know if you've seen the clips from Javon Antonio, but he's a wide receiver coming in from Northwestern State. big receiver making highlight reel catches. He had 64 receptions, 684 yards, and 6 touchdowns last year. The 4 offensive linemen who started every game, Jack Bailey, Tyler Brown, Landon Beebe, who was at a lower level, FCS, and then Savion Washington, who was the right tackle at Kent State. Jack Bailey was the right guard, I believe, at Kent State. The defensive line and the linebacker, just the defensive production on that graphic is what stands out to me. The tackles for loss and sacks. You're not really getting any true studs outside of maybe Jordan Dominic and like Shane Cokes. But it's a lot of guys who have just produced in spots and have been able to really, I guess, have a resume of good production. Derek McClendon's a guy from Florida State. He had 5 tackles for a loss and 3.5 sacks last year. He had similar production the year before. Kyrie Mans, 43 tackles, 6.5 tackles for a loss, 4 sacks. He's coming in from Maine. Do you know anything about Maine football? The Black Bears.
Yeah, they actually played Montana a few years ago. They're also, I think they had a transfer. Who was the running back last year? He was supposed to go to CU. I think wound up transferring at the last minute. A big back, FCS. Was it Sam Houston?
Oh man. That's before I got here.
Oh, probably. I'm pretty sure he started his career at Maine, though.
Okay.
So that'd be the one thing I know about Maine.
All right. We'll take it. But guys like Demoy Kennedy, who was a 4-star linebacker at Alabama, didn't play he did play last season. He got hurt, had a season-ending injury. He only had 1 tackle. So that's factored in, of course, but odds are he's probably going to have a lot more than 1 tackle this year. Who else in there? Someone like Roderick Ward stands out to me when I did this. He had 52 tackles last year, the safety out of Southern Utah, I believe. 1 tackle for a loss, 1 sack, 4 interceptions, and 11 PBUs. Another guy coming up to play at a higher level. And then Travis Hunter, he's just amazing. 10 pass breakups, easily the most of anyone besides Roderick Ward. So him and Roderick Ward combined for 21 of those of, what was it, 28 and a half or something close to that?
Yeah. So. Interesting. Yeah, it was Ramon Jefferson.
Oh, that's right.
Started at Maine.
That's right.
Led Maine to the playoffs, 1,000 yards, and then became an All-American at Sam Houston. And he was supposed to be a Buffs running back last year. And if he was, who knows if it changes anything, but there's one legitimate player they could have had.
They could have used him for sure.
Yep.
So there's that graphic. We'll have that out on social. Again, I want to make some changes to it, but we'll have that out pretty soon. Shout out to our friends at Shady Rays. Take on the sun with gear built to last at Shady Rays. Extremely durable frames, clear optics, polarized optics. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers you lost and broken replacement. I just lost my pair, so if you just bought yours and you lost yours, make sure you hit them up. They'll replace them. Whose are these, though?
Those are yours?
Mine. Okay.
Yep.
I was wondering. Well, last time I lost mine, I don't even remember where I left them, but I found them right there just sitting in the studio here. So anyways, Shady Rays is the best. It's hot today. Summer's here.
Yeah, it's very hot. It's like 92 or something.
Yeah. Even walking out at like 10:30, it was like, I don't know, 80 something already.
Yeah.
Anyways, you can shop Shady Rays' entire collection at the Park Meadows Mall or go to shadyrays.com. Use code DNVR. You'll get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses, and you can try for yourself. The shade's rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Also, shout out to Shador's No. 2 barbecue sauce. Have you tried this yet, Henry?
No.
It's delicious. It goes great on absolutely everything. It is grilling season right now. Make sure you're prepared with some Shador's No. 2. You can scan the QR code on the screen or go on over to plbse.com, and you can use the code ALLCITY, all caps, all one word, at checkout for 10% off your order of Shador's No. 2 barbecue sauce. Mac Mill says No. 2 barbecue sauce on beef hot dogs. There you go. Love it. I'm running out. I need to get some. Shout out sales. Okay. Do you know who Boo Carter is, Henry?
I've heard the name. Oh, he's the one who committed somewhere else.
Yes.
Yep.
So the Buffs were in a recruiting battle with Tennessee, who Boo ultimately ended up committing to. and Michigan. He put Oregon and Ohio State as well with CU in that top 5, or in a top 5 that he released a few weeks or months ago. And then on Saturday, leading up to his commitment, he said it was between Tennessee, Colorado, and Michigan. He ends up picking Tennessee. He is from Tennessee. He's a hometown kid, but he's a 4-star, 247 sports composite player in this class, 207th player overall, 17th overall athlete. He ends up going to Tennessee, and I actually got to give props to Buff Nation because I thought I'd see more freak out on Twitter. A lot of rational and smart takes I saw.
Wow.
Which was awesome.
Doesn't happen much with recruiting.
It doesn't happen much. But if I told you that Colorado was going to be going down to the wire with one of the best athletes in the country with Michigan and Tennessee 2 years ago, what would you have said?
It's great. Yeah, I mean, Brendan Rice was up there. He was a 4-star who had offers. Well. Gonzalez, yes, he was also a big-time recruit. I'm trying to remember who else offered him. But yeah, you could only count on one hand, though, the number of times they beat out, Bama or Auburn or one of those, Michigan for a recruit. It was really rare. And they didn't get a single 5-star. Was Boo Carter 5-star or 4-star?
He's a 4-star.
4-star?
Right now, but he's got a whole senior season, so.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, it was rare back then. The thing is, they just all left. Just in 1-2 week period and just doomed the program.
They did all leave. Until now, we do have some still in this class. The reason I'm bringing this up is just because obviously it's early, and I said it off the top. I think Buff Nation actually responded pretty well to this news. There's been, I don't know if you follow the message board Geniuses or whatever on Twitter, that Twitter account. No. They basically go through all the 247 sports boards and post some of the dumbest, funniest shit that you find on there.
Yep.
We didn't get posted. The Buff Stampede did not get posted after this commitment, so I'm proud of them. But there's actually a funny one out there. I guess there was a 4 or 5-star Texas, I think, current commit who went on a visit to Texas Tech. And he quote tweeted, he found the tweet of Texas fans being like, oh, we don't need him, go to that whatever school, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I thought y'all liked me, to like a current commit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just seems so obvious whether you're helping or hurting your cause.
Yes.
Just always help.
Do you miss covering recruiting at all?
Oh, hell no. There is nothing worse than recruiting. It was just awful. Because, I mean, that's the thing now is like with the NFL, I guess you have the draft. But outside of that, you know who all the players are.
Right.
It's like, oh, they're going to get whatever, Zach Allen from the Cardinals. It's like, oh, yeah, it's Zach Allen. And instead, it's this with like a random tweet from some account you don't follow that has just been retweeted enough times it gets into your feed where it's just like, oh, this guy's going to be up there for whatever this weekend. It's like, okay, there's 10% chance he winds up at Colorado. And if he does, there's a 70% chance he's going to transfer out at some point.
That's true.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know.
It's quite different now.
Exactly.
But again, we've got a long way to go. I tweeted out signing day, early signing day, December 20th, National Signing Day, I believe February 7th. Lots of things can happen. And I think Boo Carter also said he wants to take an official visit to Colorado at some point too. So while he has committed, stay tuned. I saw a lot of people saying, I don't know whether they were close to him or not, that this one's going to go down to signing day. So
interesting.
We'll find out. How tuned in are you on realignment and what's been going on?
Realignment?
Realignment.
Oh, realignment.
Yes.
Oh, pretty tuned. I mean, the thing is, that's like a 7-year story.
Yeah.
So I have the bulk. I haven't paid as much attention recently other than like Pac-12 isn't doing all that well.
No.
CU's probably going to the Big 12. And the official one, San Diego State's leaving the Mountain West.
Yep. So that's the news that came out after a show on Friday. Pete Thamel of ESPN reported, San Diego State gave the Mountain West written notice this week that the school, quote, intends to resign from the Mountain West Conference. They're not resigning. They intend to resign. The reason they say that, there's a June 30th deadline, and of course San Diego State has been thrown around in Pac-12 realignment rumors quite often. But if they want to leave the Mountain West and join any conference, the Pac-12 or whatever, They would need to give notice by June 30th. Otherwise, their exit fee jumps from $16.5 million to nearly $34 million. So this letter was stating that they intend to resign, but not yet because they want an extension for this deadline.
Yep.
Justin, our guy from DNVR Rams, basically said, fuck that. Why would the Mountain West try and help them get out?
Yep.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'd be curious. Unless they think they can keep them.
Right.
That's the thing. If you think you can keep them, then sure, extend the deadline and give yourself a chance to keep them. Otherwise, make them give you another $10 million or whatever to get out of it. I'm not even sure. I guess it can't be nearly that much for the Mountain West because they only get like $1 million, $2 million in payouts.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they wouldn't have to pay nearly that much. So I guess maybe that's wise because the difference, if San Diego State's about to go get, I don't know, say the Pac-12 holds it like $37 million,
right.
They're going to go get $37 million next year. By not extending the deadline, the Mountain West can claim another $3 million from them.
Right.
I don't know. I guess you still do it.
The San Diego State moved the needle for you in the Pac-12, just kind of reclaiming Southern California.
No, I mean that's again. I'm from the pre-USC UCLA era,
right?
To like the idea of inviting San Diego State into the conference at that time was like, no way in hell would you ever do that. So I don't know. It's sad to see that San Diego State could be on the way. Just personally, like that's a small school.
Yeah.
Like it's better than bringing in Colorado State, but it's kind of along those same lines where it's like you just brought down the level of competition. And you know they have got a good basketball team, obviously, and that counts for 10% of what a team brings to a conference financially. The football team
they're okay.
Yeah. Like, and then with USC and UCLA gone, why couldn't they be average? Like they'll always have a good defense. I would have said before, like, yeah, they're a 5-win team, 4 or 5-win team in the Pac-12. That's not something you chase after, but maybe 4 or 5 wins now get you 6 or 7 with those two gone.
Right. Go back to, I guess, this time last year when you were still on the beat. Where were you thinking this was headed? Did you think that the Pac-12 was the best conference for the Buffs, or did you think that they should have looked to go elsewhere?
I think it's very clear now that they should leave.
Right.
At the time, we knew that they weren't going to get to go to the Big Ten.
Yep.
Like they were still getting the Oregon-Washington rumors. It's like maybe they go, maybe you could make that happen. That was still the dream then as it is now. But with that out of the picture, it really was a wash because you're getting right around the same. It's probably $40 million from the Big 12 or from the Pac-12. And in the same way that I feel like San Diego State kind of brings down the street cred of the conference a little bit. At that point, the Big 12 was adding the teams that they added. I guess BYU doesn't really do that because they have the same big fan base. But, you know,
so Houston,
Cincinnati, Houston,
and UCF.
UCF. And again, like they're good group of 5 schools. They get their opportunity, but you kind of see the haves are moving up and the have-nots are kind of like moving down. And
right.
So it felt like maybe a lateral, slightly upward move. And the real reason to be an upward move is because you can kind of just doom the Pac-12.
Yep.
And if you say, well, there's 5 power conferences and they all split this much money, cut it down to 4 power conferences by you leaving with, say, Arizona, you leave the Pac-12 in such a bad, dead place that it kind of helps you out over here.
Right.
Whereas you stay with the Pac-12, Big 12 could beat you out.
So just obviously you said that, and I think we all agree that Colorado should probably end up leaving the Pac-12, should go to the Big 12. Do you think if and when they make that jump, that the Big 12 will have enough prestige to be known as like the Big 3 conferences? You know what I mean? Because Power 5 is basically dead at this point.
Yeah, it's definitely dying.
Big 12 could be able to push, at least in terms of, they're probably not going to match up in terms of competition at the SEC and Big 10, but can they push, do you think?
I don't think so. We'll see how it all shakes out. There's probably just 3 tiers, with the top tier being the SEC and the Big 10. Big 12 just doesn't have the juice to compete with those other teams. Like who is like the marquee Big 12 team at this point? like Oklahoma State,
Kansas State.
Like that's just And both those teams, like you go in a decent year, you go 500 in the Big Ten, SEC.
Right.
Maybe in a good year you do better, but not by a whole lot. And that gap would be obvious and growing. And the only real way that you could get around that at this point is, you poach Oklahoma State and Kansas State and Oregon and Washington and whatever ACC schools you choose, and that's just not realistic. So it is the right move to just jump to the Big 12, and I really do think that that's going to happen. But I don't know. All it does is it separates them from the Pac-12, and I think honestly the ACC is probably still right there.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I saw from some people on Twitter, don't know if they're credible or not, that maybe this week, but given that we have this June 30th deadline, hoping that we get some of this news soon. Were you covering the Pac-12 media deal, by the way, this time last year?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's been years and years since I started, really.
Been covering it?
Yeah, because at first it was the 12-year deal from 2012 with Larry Scott.
Right.
So that comes up end of this year. And because every other conference was signing like 8-year deals, I think there was even a 7-year deal, they just cycled through so quickly that at the time that the Pac-12 signed that deal, it was massive.
Right.
Like it was resetting the market. Nobody could believe that they'd been able to get that much money, but they did it by making it so long term. And the way that sports media rights have always gone, like since the 70s, they've just been going straight up. Yeah. That meant that by missing those 2 cycles, they're now, each school's down $20 million to the Big Ten, to the SEC. And so you've just been waiting. And there've been rumors since I started. Like I remember my first thing I covered was Pac-12 Media Day in 2019, and going out there, all the questions for Larry Scott are just about the media deal. At that point, there's rumors of Apple getting in on it, the Amazon getting in on it, and the Pac-12 just football-wise really struggled for the last few years, and that's what killed it. And if USC had made a college football playoff, maybe Oregon gets into one there too, things would be very different right now. But it just didn't work out because the Pac-12 was bad, in part because they didn't have the money, because the deal was too long the first time.
Shout out Larry Scott.
Shout out Larry Scott. Larry Scott. Ugh. What a time.
Yeah, what a time, man.
It was my second media day, I think. Justin Herbert was there, so maybe that was my first. It must have been the second, but I remember I was recording the podcast out on like their patio out there, and it was right after Larry had spoken, and so I'm just sharing my honest opinions of the things they said, which were not very kind. And then Larry Scott sat down at the table next to me. I was like, "Oh, we'll jump back to this part later." And I'm just not doing this right now. Yeah.
Oh, guys, get your questions in now. If you have anything for Hank, shoot that in the comments. Shout out to Breckenridge Brewery. You guys know we love our Breck beers here at DNVR. The beer of the month is the Mountain Beach Sour, Hank. What are your opinions on that beer?
It's a good beer. I think
it's their best beer.
Now that I'm at the point where, so it used to be I wanted to drink a lot of beers.
Yeah.
Like for the Nuggets games and the Avalanche games.
Yeah.
So it's just like whatever goes down the easiest. Now I want to enjoy a beer, and you could probably put the Mountain Beach down also. But that's a good one just because it's
crushable.
Yeah, it's crushable, but also very flavorful.
Yes.
So you can sit and you can just sip on one for an hour and you'll be happy.
A guess on how many beers you had during this Nuggets finals run. Just the finals, not even the playoffs.
Just the finals. So like what? That's 5 games.
What was it? Was it last Monday that they won, or was it Tuesday?
Yeah. I mean, see, the thing is we're just talking beer, so it's probably only like 5 a game. But then you get into like the other stuff, the tequila, the whatever, and it gets up really big. I went to 2 of the games, and those were both a couple beers before. Yeah, and then the big beers there. Let's call it 5 a game, so 25.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Come hang out at the DNVR bar. We've got all kinds of Breckenridge beer. Get yourself a Mountain Beach Sour, or you can check out their beer locator at www.breckbrew.com. Find a Breck Brew near you. And shout out to FOCO, the leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. If you missed out on a Father's Day gift, FOCO might be the place to go to get a belated Father's Day gift. They have our back for Colorado sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description. For all non-presale items, use the promo code DNVR for 10% off. All right. Let's talk to the people for a bit.
All right.
Jays is back. I got a question for our women's basketball team. Where do you project Shilo Sanders this season? Starter, second string, coming off the end of the bench, or redshirt year? They are bringing a lot of people back, this women's basketball team.
And they're adding some players too.
Yes.
So, I mean, I would guess end of the bench, red shirt, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Also, keep an eye on LSU. I'm just going to say keep an eye on LSU.
Okay.
And we'll move along.
All right. Sounds good. Jays, another one. Can you name 3 freshmen you feel would redshirt this year or won't get much playing time? Oof. All right. Well, one of them is going to be a quarterback, of course. Well, maybe. Who knows? With the lack of depth, I guess, at quarterback. Really behind Shador, it's 3 freshmen.
Yeah. Ryan Staub,
Casey Wiseman. Ryan Staub, a guy that you probably covered at least a bit. Yeah.
I think I'm trying to remember the whole thing. He's not the one who transferred and came back. He's just a true freshman this year, right?
Yeah, so he was actually offered by the previous staff, but was able to retain his offer and commit.
Yeah, that'll be good. Who's the other one who came back? Because I can't remember. I don't think I ever heard where Staub ranked. But I know that there was the one guy they really liked who went to Houston and then entered the portal and then came back. And he was like their number 1 choice that year. But that was the whole last year, and he's already off the roster, so it doesn't even matter. But Staub, I can't. Yeah. I know they like Staub. I don't know how much they like Staub.
I got my list. Let me go through a few other guys here. It wouldn't surprise me if one of the wide receivers, or maybe multiple wide receivers, redshirt, just considering they brought in so many.
Yeah.
Through the transfer portal. I don't know, like Caleb Mathis. He's a walk-on though. Trying to see who else. I mean, Hank Zelinskis, interior offensive lineman coming as a true freshman, probably not going to play very much.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll go, I'll say those 3. Next question. Cheryl, any updates on Jaylen Ellis? Is he still coming? He posted a picture yesterday with palm trees in the background. From everything I heard, he's still coming. By the way, Cormani McLean, his mom posted a video on social, I believe Friday. He's coming. Savell Smalls on campus. He's coming.
Wow.
The players are actually coming that said they were committed, Hank. But
That's
can you
good.
believe that?
That is good. Need that.
Next one, Cheryl. Again, the concern about FCS players entering the Power 5 is confusing to me. Is this the first time FCF players have moved into the Power 5? If not, how did those players do? Why so much concern?
Yeah, I'd be curious. I mean, it would be really tough to just go through every single one that's jumped up and seen. I only know from Montana. Again, Samori played well. He put up like 600, 700 yards. And he was All-American and all that at Montana. Outside of that, I can tell you that I can't think of many super successful players. I mean, who is the Chance Main?
Right.
Chance Main was an FCS transfer. He didn't play all that much. It didn't feel like last year.
No, but he's back.
He is back.
Cam Ward from Washington State.
Cam Ward's a good one. Yep, and that's what you want Shador to be.
Exactly.
Yep, that's what you're hoping Shador is.
And I've seen her stuff on Twitter, and that Cam Ward is. People are already saying he's had a great offseason, and they think he'll be even better this year. Cam Ward's the guy I always look to. I mean, he was fairly successful last year. He had some moments.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a different level of play.
Yeah,
and like, there's a reason you're down there or you're up there, and if you change, there's probably a reason for that too. But it's a lot of FCS players to be adding to an FBS roster.
Travis Hunter is for real though.
He is for real. Yep, you got him, you got Shador, and anything else is really just gravy in my mind.
That is true. What else do we got? CBW Henry, tell us how you really feel about this team Coach Prime has put together.
I'm curious. I have no idea. I did take the lines at 3.5 wins.
Yep.
When the Nuggets won, I put some of my winnings on the over on that.
Let's go.
I did sprinkle a little bit on them to win the Pac-12 just because.
Hell yeah.
Again, the odds were just kind of crazy. Like, there's a chance that Shedeur Sanders is able to just carry this team.
And for sure.
And if that's the case, anything's possible. There's also, I think, a real chance that, I don't know, you saw what they were last year.
Yeah.
They were really bad.
It won't
this
be
is
that
a different
bad.
team, but I really hope not.
I mean, there's a lot of coming together that needs to happen. A lot of figuring out who actually belongs at this level, to kind of go with your point. And just who is for real. And if
exactly,
players coming off of injuries, DeMoy Kennedy, Alton McCaskill, coming off pretty serious injuries, they're out there working though.
Yeah, I mean, when you just have so many guys who, there are plenty who have tape. Like, there are plenty who have tape, but there's also, I mean, we looked at the SEC numbers. Some of those guys are going to turn out to be solid players. A lot of them, I think, probably will not. And to figure out before the season starts which ones are which would be really, really, really difficult. And that's why you're going to, I would imagine, with a team that's all just put together the way this one has, you're just going to see it change so much, who's in the lineup and who's out of the lineup and what role they play. And that alone probably costs you a couple games, just not knowing who you actually should be putting on the field probably. But yeah, I mean, a bowl game. I think the bowl game's probably the line.
Yeah, that's where
Good
I'm
year,
at
bad
as well.
year.
To go with that, though, they've already kind of admitted some misses on some guys. Taylor Upshaw was an edge who came in from Michigan. He left after the spring game. Zico, Sado Traore, was a all-conference tight end for Arkansas State last year.
Huh.
He transferred out. And then Tavion Beasley, who was a Jackson State cornerback, was part of the Louis luggage, came in, didn't make the cut, and was sent packing, basically. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more of that. I mean, obviously not entering the portal because they can't, but just guys who we don't hear from too much this season.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because every other team in the country has like a starting point.
Right.
It's like, here's the guys who played last year. There you go. And then there's holes wherever there's holes. So there's like a clear order of, oh, he was the backup last year. Oh, he was the third string last year. And things can change, but you're just so close to knowing how you should be using your team that this is going to be
right.
It's like a challenge, a real challenge.
That's a fair point, though. You got to figure out the entire depth chart, and most teams don't have to do that.
Exactly. And yeah, you can just go by recruiting stars, but
right
again, the SEC guys probably were great recruits.
Yep.
They wanted a fresh start for some reason.
Yep. Dimitri's asking, do you think Shilo will actually start? I put him in as a starter when I did my projected depth chart. I don't know if you've watched Shilo at all.
Only the Celebration Bowl.
I don't think he did too much then.
No, I didn't remember anything.
He was still kind of hurt, I believe. He was. I think he also tore his ACL about a year ago and came back early.
Interesting.
All right. Eric's asking, is there a limit a team can redshirt? I don't believe so.
No.
You can just, I mean, they're so lenient with it now with the 4-game rule and all that. So it's kind of just whatever.
Yeah.
Jamel's asking, any Cormani McLean sightings? His mom says it's coming. He's coming. It's going to happen, I promise.
It's a shame he wasn't here for the spring.
He was, yeah.
That would have gone a long way.
Having him out at practice and stuff for sure.
Yep. That would have been nice.
I think he's going to play a lot.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I think he's definitely starting. That's where it just getting him another 24 practices or whatever it is could have gone a long way.
Right. Eric, are there anyone out there who's already committed that Coach Prime can legitimately flip? I mean, Boo Carter, start with him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's a few guys. I mean, there's probably going to be guys that commit throughout the season. We saw a lot of commitments over this last weekend. And I don't know. Have you seen anything on that, like in your time covering college, like amount of commits or like percentage of commits who actually end up flipping after giving a commitment? Do you know anything on that?
I don't know what the number is. I do think, I mean, Colorado didn't have many of their commits flip. It was always a really big concern. I mean, with a lot of the guys we talked about, Brendan Rice being one. Right. It's like, yeah, we'll believe it when he's on campus. And it's like, well, there he is on campus.
Yeah.
They didn't seem to flip all that much. But again, what Deion does is just totally different. Like, that's just, I mean, if the book is out the window.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't anything that's ever been done before. If he wants to go flip somebody, he's going to try harder to flip somebody than anybody else ever has.
Right.
He's going to see the guys who are committed other places as less committed than just about any other coach in the country. He's going to think he can do it. And so because of that, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bunch of flips in Colorado's favor just because they're going to try so hard to do it, I'd imagine.
Yep. They're recruiting until they sign on the dotted line, basically.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? That's it. Thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, definitely.
Good to have you back.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of stuff has changed. And
a lot has changed.
A lot will continue to change, I'm sure.
Carl Durrell was out at Broncos practice last week.
Oh, yeah? Did you catch up with him?
No, I didn't get a chance because we're all just kind of roped off in our little corner with Sean Payton there. So that's a shame. Yeah. I talked to him for a long time at the airport at the Combine, though. That was good.
I remember you did tell me that.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Henry. You can follow him at Henry Chisholm. Follow at DNVR Broncos. All the great stuff you guys do over there.
Oh, yeah.
How are we feeling about the Broncos, real quick? Just scale 1 to 10.
They're 5.
We're just mediocre right now, just kind of
waiting. 5 would be a big step up.
That is true.
Yeah, I think right there in the middle. There you go.
We'll figure it out.
8 or 9 wins, yeah, sure.
Does Russ get it figured out this year?
He'll be fine. Like, he'll be better. He'll definitely be better. I don't know how much better.
That doesn't get me too excited.
I mean, they haven't been in the playoffs in 7 years. You shouldn't be too excited.
You're right. You're right. All right. Shout out to you, Henry. I appreciate you, man. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow, chat. Till then, Go Buffs.